welcome back to Everything But the Lesson Plan. I am your host, Franchesca Thompson, and today we are diving into a topic that is bigger than any single classroom, school, or even country: advancing STEM education on a global scale. With me is Dr. Kimberly West, a passionate educator and founder of Teach STEM Global. Together, we will explore why teachers should care about global STEM equity, what mindsets we need to foster, and how you can make an impact right from where you are. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's think beyond borders. Welcome to the show, Dr. West. How are you?
I am well. Thank you so much. And thank you for this opportunity to speak with your audience. I am truly just grateful for this opportunity and look forward to our conversation this evening.
Yes, you are actually the last episode for season 8. And I love the questions and things that we're going to talk about today. So thank you for joining the show.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, I'm excited. Um, just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I am a
Mhm.
science educator. I have been for an educator for almost 20 years, and I also, a few years ago, about 2 years ago, started a nonprofit, Teach Them Global. We originally started out as Teach Them Africa because that was our main focus. But as we started to think about how we want to broaden our work, we said let's approach this whole world and try to do our best to bring STEM uh, to students and teachers and classrooms around the world. And so I'm very excited to talk about that work. It's a work in progress, and I so love what we do and the vision and the mission that we have for our organization.
Yes, and I can't wait to learn more about your company as well. So let's
Yes,
get
yeah.
into the questions. Why is
Okay.
advancing STEM education globally so crucial right now, especially from the perspective of a teacher?
Okay. I don't know about you, but have you heard about this little thing? This thing called AI, for example. So
Yes.
everything, so I like to joke around and just say that, but just as a starting point, everything
Mhm.
around us is changing, it's evolving, it's growing. And it's not so much as teaching science, teaching STEM, teaching, engineering, mathematics in these isolated subjects. It's more about how do we get our students to think critically? How do we get them to see real world problems that they have the potential to solve and that they can solve and that they can do things to improve our world? And so at this point, the world is rapidly evolving, and I think that students need to have every opportunity to be successful and to engage in our world and not isolate themselves or pull back and say, oh, that's too big of a problem or that doesn't affect me. If you live on this planet, I don't care where you live at on this planet, it affects you in some way because we are all
Yeah.
interconnected. And so it's very important that we keep that mindset that we are not isolationists. We are here together, and that our students have a role in making sure that they make this planet the best planet it can be and sustainable, and that they can do it and empowering them. I just think that's very important that we do that.
And I think so too. And so that takes me to my next question, more centered around the teachers. What should teachers be thinking about when it comes to equity and access in STEM across different countries and communities? Well, especially with you having this nonprofit Teach STEM globally, what can you tell us about this?
Well, first of all, I know, yes, do inequities and are they present? Absolutely. But one of the things I think is that STEM is something that sometimes people think, oh, it takes a lot of money. Oh, it
Mm-hmm.
takes a lot of, I have to have kits, I have to have this, or I have to. It really doesn't. And so when we think about equity, again, kind of going back or falling back on that, looking within your community about things that can be done, you can
Mm-hmm.
do things with your students that you can use local resources to use. So for example, I like to say, if you have toilet paper rolls, you can do
Mm-hmm.
something with that. You have paper towel rolls, you have string. And so I think I just when I speak to teachers, I say, please don't get so bogged down with the I don't have.
Yeah.
I can't make this happen because I don't have this amount of money, especially when I go to other countries or I engage with teachers in other countries that are in developing countries and they think, well, we don't have the resources for this. It's okay. Think about what you do have. And again, try to get your students to apply those critical thinking skills, those teamwork skills, those planning skills, and think about what you can achieve with what you have. Because I think that's, again, I think we sit in that and go, I can't do this. Again,
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with a friend last night. That's a STEM teacher, and they were saying, "Well, I don't know, we can't do this because we don't. It's not in our budget." And I said, "Listen, there's a place called the Dollar Tree,
Absolutely.
that as some place you can use to get resources. Again, it doesn't have to be kits. It doesn't have to be these pre-planned programs. Yes, it takes some planning and yes, it takes some time, but it is possible. Because again, the smallest thing that you think is insignificant can open the brightest doors in thinking for students.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, and that's something that I really need people to think about and understand. We all can't go around here having 3D printers and drones, right? But you've gotten
Yep.
the perspective of, under under resource communities or even countries and how they're making STEM work in their spaces that doesn't
Yeah.
require all of this tech. And
Yeah.
so that is saying there's things that we actually can do here
Yeah.
in the US.
Yes. Yeah. And again, just yes, there are a lot of things we can do here. I mean, there's things you can do with construction paper. There's things you can
Yep.
do with popsicle sticks. There's things you can do with toothpicks. There are
Mm-hmm.
a lot of things that can be done. At the end of the day, it's not teaching. Yes, there are scientific, mathematic, and all these concepts that are, that drive the things that
Yeah.
we do and the activities that we teach our students. But it's really, I can't drive home enough that that critical thinking, that teamwork, that collaboration, that
Yeah.
planning, that execution, the implementation, the testing, and then looking back at it again. Did this work? And then how can we revise it? It is all those skills that we really need to help our students to understand that sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest with you, as a science educator, they don't necessarily get in our classes because
Yeah.
sometimes we're so focused on teaching content that
Yeah.
sometimes we don't get those skills. And so, and then too, those are those 21st century skills
Yeah.
that they need. And so again, don't get so caught up in, I don't have. Listen, you can make it happen. You can have them draw a model on a piece of paper, and that's
That's right.
okay, And so, and even just collaborating. So, even again, talking to my friend last night, I said one of my favorite standards that we teach is, it's something that involves planning and carrying out an investigation. And I said I love to give kids lots of different things, things that don't have anything to do with what it is they're supposed to be planning out or that the concept they're supposed to be modeling and seeing what they come up with. And they wow me a lot of times. But I
Yeah.
go, I didn't think that was something that you might use, but you've convinced me. So don't get caught up in what you can't do. It's what you can do. And it's those skills and those things that we need to be building in our students.
Yeah. And I would like to just put in a little plug here as well for teachers and parents and just community advocates that there's a lot of untapped resources in the community, especially
Yeah.
when you look at your local library. They have
Yes.
turned those things into maker spaces. And
Yes,
what
ma'am.
you don't realize is that a lot of the programming and things that they're offering, it's free, and
Yes.
I have even invited the library to bring the stuff to the school and
Mm-hmm.
have demonstrations with our students. So just
Mm,
the power of asking people to
yeah.
support you, tap into
Yes.
that as well. You don't have to do it all
Yeah.
by yourself. There are people in your
Exactly.
community that are willing to help.
Yes, and I would agree. I would agree. And even, you can even, tap out to, reach out to some, it doesn't help to reach out to companies either.
Yeah.
One of the best partnerships that we have at Teach Them Global is with a organization or a company called Academics. My good
Hmm.
friend, since become a good friend, Jerome McQueen, he's the founder. And so he partners with us in providing STEM resources. And so it never hurts to just ask, as you said, which is a great resource. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, because they have something that, they have some investment in this too. These
Absolutely.
are students in their community who they want to be well-rounded citizens, and people who are able to contribute back into the community. So, if you plug that in, they have no choice at most time if you ask them to say, of
Yeah.
course we're here to support. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks
Yeah.
for that. And then,
Yeah.
so my next question is, how does a global STEM mindset benefit students who may have never traveled abroad? I know you said you've done some things in other countries. Tell
Yeah.
us how can our students benefit?
Well, first of all, I like to tell people, if you live in America, you seem to think that sometimes America is the only country there is in this world. It is not. We represent, I think, somewhere about 4% of the global population. And so my mindset is very much that we are not here by ourselves. When the things that we do here in America do impact us globally. And so you might want to be thinking about, a problem that we have here, whether it's pollution, whether it is air quality, for example, or whether it's water quality. There are things that we do here in America that contribute to other parts of the world. So, for example, I know for example, when going over to Ghana, I think about consumerism a lot and how
Hmm.
we are very consumer driven here. But how that and the waste that we have ends up in other parts of the world. And so,
Wow.
when you look at places, I'll just give a brief example. For example, first time I went over to Ghana, I'm originally from Ohio. We went to visit a school. We did some work. I was with another organization at the time, though, before starting Teach Them Global, and I took a picture. They had an Ohio State University cooler, um,
Hmm.
where they're selling, on the streets, South Street PTA shirts, and so you have to consider the things that we do here are impacting the world. The things
Yeah.
that we make, the trash we make, if we don't use it, it ends up someplace and everybody think, oh, this ends up in the landfill here. Not necessarily, even
Mm.
donating items. And so we have to be mindful of the things that we do and that we are also, contributing to either someone's, trash or, or just whatever. But so we just can't keep this mindset of it's just about us and nobody else. No,
That's
global
a great
warming affects
PBL.
everybody. Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right.
That's
Yeah,
a good PBL project. I'm thinking, oh man, that's something that they like, PBL experience for a class or a
yeah.
school to dig into.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw something recently about how there were clothes and things that like had washed up on the shores in Ghana, and they were cleaning that off a beach, and I was just like, yeah, that's we did that. Those are
Oh,
our that's from us,
yeah.
and so you
Hmm.
just have to realize that we're not here. So even just like with air quality, even when they talk about how the dust blows over the Atlantic to to us from the Sahara Desert, we're all interconnected. And I think too the problems that we have, and this is what I tell like educators from when I speak with them at other parts of the world, your problems are also my problems, meaning that we
Mm.
have the same problems. It may look different because it may be financial or place, but we have the same problems. Please don't ever get it twisted that we don't. Um,
Yeah.
and so just to keep that in mind, and that and I think about this too. You know, there may be a student over there that has a solution to solving a heart problem to somebody here. Again, it's all about we don't have all the answers. I know they're saying the answers in the room, and that may be true, but the answer is not necessarily here in the US. The answer may be somewhere else. And it's important that
Mm.
we spread that love, because you never know how it's going to come back to bless you and in what way. Because we're not the only innovators. Because another thing too is that lack causes creativity. And
Mm.
so when you don't have, when you can't readily go buy, when you really can't go, there's some places don't have Amazon, they don't have Prime, you can't get it in 2 days. That's going
Yeah.
to spur, this is a problem. How can I fix it? And so there's
Yeah.
creativity out there, there's innovation out there. So we don't have a choice, I think, but to take some time to invest in love and share, because we're not the only ones here. And it would be in our best interest to keep a global mindset, you know.
Yeah, global mindset.
Yeah,
I
keep it.
love that. So,
Yeah.
what are some simple ways that teachers can actually get involved in supporting or connecting with global STEM initiatives and support this global mindset?
So they can reach out to our organization. We're planning a few things. We're a young organization. We're slowly growing. Those of us, myself and our board, we also have full-time jobs, and so sometimes we don't always have the time to do all the wonderful things that we want to do. But
Yeah,
we're a growing organization. But reach out to us, and then because we're looking at some things we're doing, like some pen pal kind of sharing
I
kinds of,
love that.
thinking about trying to do something where we're getting connecting classrooms, where we can, the students can speak with one another, the teachers can collaborate, we can have a shared problem or shared activity. And so reach
Hmm.
out to us, because we're wanting to get the feedback and input and assistance from teachers as well, because we can't grow and be successful and learn, because I'm always learning something. I'm like, oh, tell me more, tell me more. And so as part of our building and part of our growing and part of our mission is growing globally, is to have teachers and educators that can contribute resources and things like that we can share.
Yeah.
We're planning some trips, and we like to, unfortunately we didn't go to Ghana this past summer. We were planning on it, but something didn't feel right. So I just said we'll take a pause this summer,
Hmm.
um, in the hopes that we will plan for this upcoming year. But reach out to us. It's, support us. Financially, we can definitely use that.
Hmm.
But also reach out to us again when we do some of our trips that we're planning. We have a few trips coming up, so just be on the lookout for that. Um, but yeah, so just again, even reaching out to other organizations. I can't think of any other right off the top of my head at this moment, but just, trying to connect with us. We will be more than happy to try to help you connect with others in other parts of the world. Because the one thing to keep in mind though is when you want to ship things, it's not, because some people say, oh, I just want to send stuff. I just want to send stuff. I get that. But sometimes sending stuff is not as easy as you think.
Yeah.
Because you may be able to get it there, but they may not be able to receive it due to
Mm.
various things such as cost and just some things with, I'll just say, with shipping as it goes. So
Yeah.
you just have to be mindful of that. So it's important to have a connect. So, I know people say that. And then two, it's even, people say, well, I just want to send them money. Yes, please send money, but be very cautious how you do that, because, you might, the money might not get to where it's supposed to be. And I'm not saying that in a mean way, because the same thing could be said here, in the US. You just have to be careful with
Yeah.
how you want to share those resources and things that you do. But definitely connect with us. We would love to work with you.
Well, perfect. Can tell me about that Ghana trip when you did it the last time through this did you
Oh,
do it through this
okay.
nonprofit?
Yes. So
Okay.
this was because again, I went a few years ago with another organization, and I came home and I said, oh man, I love this. I love this work. How can I do this? Maybe structure a little bit differently, but still was grateful for the experience. And so last year we took our very first trip as our organization. At the time, it was Teach Them Africa, and I I can't speak highly enough of it. I can't speak. I guess it was just so emotional for me. The teachers,
Hmm.
so we conducted professional development. So it was myself and about three other educators. One from Massachusetts, one from Tennessee, and one from, actually she's an American, but she works over in South Korea, um, for the military schools. And so, they took a chance on me and this organization and said, we'll go with you. And we provided professional development for 60 to 70 Ghanaian teachers. And, and I also partnered with teachers that I had worked with, um, and met when I was in Ghana previously. I also worked with, her name is Stella G. Malarby. She is the 2022 Outstanding Ghana Teacher of the Year. She's a
Wow.
phenomenal woman. I'm a partner with her and her organization, Outstanding, or Out International rather. And So yeah, working with her. So I'm going to educator. So we did professional development for about, like I said, 60 to 70 teachers. So we had, that room was jam packed, but it was phenomenal. One of my favorite stories is Dr. Pen Pen is the educator who is from South Korea, and she talks about STEM careers, and that's what her background or her line of work currently. And one of the funny
Mhm.
stories is that, and I'm sorry, I could talk. There's three things I got to talk about, but I got to tell this story. And so
Okay.
we were doing bingo, like STEM jobs, STEM career bingo, and stuff like that. And one of my favorite stories is that they they done play bingo over there, and so every
Oh.
time someone's like it'd be like chemical engineer, and every time like somebody had chemical engineer, they were like bingo, and we were like no 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 no, you gotta hit five down, five across. So I mean, so that, and to see their level of engagement and their level of just wanting to know more and do more to impact their students, that was phenomenal. So we did that. We also visited the Adenta Community School. And
Mhm.
speaking of, like I said, I spoke about academics and Jerome McQueen. He donated 55 STEM kits. Oh my God.
Oh,
Oh,
wow,
so
that's a lot.
the grade 7 students, they either had an airplane or like a car. And when I tell you,
Wow.
just they didn't need the instructions. They knew. They got right to work. Um, put their STEM kits together, had got the batteries, everything. And so just to see that level of excitement, just to see that connection, again, they didn't even need the instructions. They just went right to work. And so, and some people think,
Mhm.
well, they don't have access to this on a day-to-day basis. How do they
Yeah.
know? It's in you. They have that creativity, they have that innovation within them already. It's our jobs to foster and nurture that and bring that out more. So we
Mhm.
did that. Um, and then we also, in working with Stella, we had the Outstanding Teacher Summit, and there we anticipated about 300 teachers from across the greater Accra region. There were 700 teachers that came, and we spoke. We had speakers and different panels. And
Mhm.
just when I tell you, I kept looking behind me like, and they're putting out more chairs. Oh my goodness. So
Yeah, that
just
sounds
to,
powerful.
yeah, it was. Because again, sometimes here in the US we complain about PDs. We go, oh my God, I
Yeah.
don't, I'm going to use this. But to know that there are teachers out there and educators who want the best for their students. They also had like a little science exhibition where students brought their projects and things. I mean, I can't just speak enough about it. It was a
Sounds
phenomenal
like I had a great time
opportunity. Yes, it was amazing. So I know we could be here all night, and you have to tell me, Kim,
talking
just,
about that.
but but I know. But I'm just saying, it was just, I can't speak highly enough of it. Just the
Mhm.
work that was done, and um, I just, to think that I played a small part in that. You
Yeah,
know,
that's good.
yeah,
I love it. Well,
yeah,
you know what? I can't wait for this next trip, and please definitely send that information over because I want to see
yeah,
if I can come
yeah.
um to the next one. And then we'll have your contact information and everything about your nonprofit in the show notes so people can
Okay,
definitely reach out. Is there
great.
any last thing you want to say before we close out the show?
I just say, don't limit yourself. When you limit yourself as your educator, you are limiting the possibility of your students and the possibility of the good and greatness they can accomplish in their own lives and for those around them and this planet. So don't say I can't, say I can. All things are possible. And don't
Yes.
put a limit on them either, because they might wow you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
That's
they
it.
wow you.
Don't limit yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. I am so honored and so privileged, and I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me and even the invitation. So thank you so much.
Yes. Well, Dr. West, thank you for reminding us that teaching STEM is more than an equation and experiments. It's about connecting students to a world of ideas and opportunities. For everyone listening, remember your classroom might be local, but your impact can be global. Keep pushing boundaries, asking questions, and dreaming big because our students are counting on us to open the doors that they may not even know exist. So until next time, keep thriving.